Cherchez la femme. Look for the woman. This French phrase was used in All Detectives, and it literally meant that if you want to solve the mystery, you have to look for the femme fatale. And today, I will show you how I did this fiery makeup look that was inspired by a general image of a femme fatale. And later, I will tell you about 3 significant femme fatales. Some of them you may have heard about, and some of them may be new to you, but their life stories are very interesting. So, keep watching. Of course, every makeup must be started with a cleansed and moisturized face, and of course, juicy moisturized lips. Rip that lip balm, by the way, because Moody ate it. She absolutely loved it. I always wonder what makeup routine did, for instance, Cleopatra have. I even read a book about it, and the recipes there were absolutely crazy, using cat fat and dried flies, milk, and etc. We're not going to such extremes. Well, after I moisturize my skin, I apply foundation. Usually, I apply foundation with my fingers, but for this video, I opted for a beauty blender, as I got this black beauty blender, which is said to be the more professional version of the original beauty blender. Yes, I curled my hair for this. Then I need to brighten up my under eyes. It always makes such a difference when you apply concealer. I really like concealers that give you both nice coverage, but also keep your skin looking like skin and not like a cake. I think one should always use a foundation that matches their skin tone. Of course, sometimes we can go a little lighter or a little darker, but for instance, a couple of days ago I saw a girl and her face was brown, but her neck was actually white. First step is doing my eye makeup, and for that I apply an ivory eyeshadow all over my lids, followed by this American brown eyeshadow. Did you know that non-English speaking YouTubers call this brick brown and American brown? It seems to be a very popular shade among Americans, or at least American beauty gurus. And European beauty bloggers, or just bloggers, and they're complaining that this is too orangey. Even though the one that I had, I find is very nice and not too orangey at all. In fact, I find that such warm tones brighten up my eyes and make them look more beautiful and vibrant. It's just very important to find the right brown for you, even if it's a warm brown, so that you don't look like you rubbed carrot on your eyelids. Then, of course, I blend. Then I apply a light shimmery eyeshadow, a golden shimmery eyeshadow on my lids. If you have a golden highlighter, for instance, you can put golden highlighter over there, and I think you will look just fine. I try to blend my eyeshadows and take my time because it really makes a difference. Then I take a darker brown, and it's even, I would say, a cooler tone, and I put it on the outer corners of my eyes to give more depth to my eyes. I actually have a natural brown pigment there on the outer corners of my eyes that looks more like a wing, and I'm afraid my concealer doesn't always manage to conceal that one. I don't know why, but I definitely add to it with the darker eyeshadows, and besides my natural flick is not so massive. Then I take another shimmery eyeshadow that is like a pinky grayish brown, and I put it on the lower lids, right underneath my lashes, and of course, eyeliner. No femme fatale makeup can be complete without an eyeliner and a black mascara. Time to do the lips. And of course they have to be blood red. First I like to line my lips to give them more definition. And sometimes I'll even use just a liner all over my lips. If the lips are moisturized and the liner is good, then you'll be totally fine doing that. But this time around, I decided to use a liquid red lipstick that will last me the whole day. I will leave the link to this red lipstick in the description box because I absolutely love it. And it's such a true red, absolutely stunning and incredible. Fiery lips for a fiery girl. And I just find that this sort of red looks good almost on everyone. It's not orangey or blue, it's red. Mwah. What is your favorite red lipstick, by the way? Oh yes, and applying a nice blusher always is important to give color to the face, and a highlighter and a gold highlighter. Can you see how bright that one is? I'm sure they can see my highlighter from the other universes and planets. But for this look, I was a femme fatale, so my highlighter had to match. And our makeup look is ready. Can you see how fast it was to do this makeup? How easy it is, and at the same time, how gorgeous the outcome turns out to be. I just love it. No difficult blending techniques like in makeup videos that I always fail. So I'm really happy with this look, as it's easy to achieve and gorge. And now I shall tell you about 3 femme fatales. I don't sympathize with all of them, maybe even with none of them, but they were women that left their stamp in history. She is the most famous female ruler in the history of the world, Cleopatra the 7th. As the last active ruler of ancient Egypt, she was survived as a pharaoh for a very short period of time by her own son, Caesarion, the nickname meaning Little Caesar. Her son was from Caesar, the great Caesar of Rome. Once her reign was through, though, Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire. There were many wondrous things about Cleopatra, many legends, tales, and stories, apart from making her red nail polish iconic. The red nail polish that she would get the paint from Armenia called Vortan, a paint that would survive centuries, a paint that Cleopatra loved putting also on her nails, of course mixed in much lower concentrations. Cleopatra was dynamic in every possible way. She was one of the very few members of her family who actually learned to speak Egyptian. Many of you may not know, but the family of Cleopatra was of Greek origin. Yes, Cleopatra was actually Greek. Her family took over Egypt following the death of Alexander the Great. To fully embrace the role of an Egyptian pharaoh, she represented herself as a reincarnation of the important Egyptian goddess, Isis. One of the most famous episodes of her life was that she secretly smuggled herself into the palace of Julius Caesar himself. Allegedly, she was eager to take advantage of him, and there is a vivid depiction of this scene in Plutarch's biographical work, Life of Julius Caesar. Kaiser. According to that biography, she managed to get past the guards of the palace by being rolled up in a carpet. And 9 months after this crazy incident, Cleopatra gave birth to her one and only son, Caesarion. Consequently, she actually made Caesar the great ruler, dismantle his plans to annex Egypt, and instead, he actually supported Cleopatra as the ruler of Egypt. That was unheard of, and that didn't go well with the Romans at all. They called Cleopatra a witch who had put a spell on the great Caesar. She was one of the reasons why people turned on Caesar, who was later assassinated in 44 BC, and one of his assassinators was his dear friend, Brutus, that also hated Cleopatra. It is said that before dying, being stabbed by knives, Caesar looked at Brutus and said this last phrase, "You too, my child, you too, Brutus." Once Caesar was killed, his heir was Augustus. However, Cleopatra aligned with Mark Antony and opposed Augustus. With Antony, she gave birth to twins. Unfortunately, however, their ending was tragic. Antony committed a suicide following a battle he lost to Augustus, and Cleopatra followed suit and killed herself too with a snake. However, she will always remain one of the most memorable women of ancient history. The next femme fatale that I want to tell you about is Isadora Duncan, the dancer Isadora that changed everything and made a revolution in dance. I actually heard about Isadora because she was the lover of one of my favorite poets, Shein, even though she was so much older than him. Isadora was born in California. Growing up, she learned dancing, and she would even teach dancing to the local kids. She even went to ballet school, but couldn't stay there for long. She loved freedom too much, and the strict rules of the school of ballet just didn't lie well with her. She needed freedom. She needed to do something of her own, to create something different. And to do that, she needed to go to Europe, which she did. Duncan brought a particular philosophy to dancing. Isadora broke rules, subverted traditions, and reimagined dance as a form of sacred art. She believed that the source of all movement came from the third chakra, or the solar plexus. Inspired by the Greek goddesses, Isadora would put on her just a white piece of cloth, looking like Aphrodite who just came out of the waves. She danced in a way that no one dared to dance at the time. Her movements were not so sleek, but people couldn't take their eyes off her. At first, people didn't understand it. Noble women don't dress like that, people said. And certainly, noble women should not watch Isadora's dancings. However, this talks of conservatives couldn't stop Isadora's passion. The more she danced, the more people would get infected by her dances. And even Greece that she was inspired by, did not understand her dancing. And Duncan went to France. France, the only place in the world at the time that would accept her extravaganza dancing. And there she finally found success. People got infected with the dances of Isadora. Everyone copied her, even the great choreographers of serious ballet theaters started putting up dances inspired by Isadora. One of the greatest ballet dancers of all times, Maya Plisetskaya, even has a dance that is called Isadora. As much as she subverted the rules of dancing, she did very much the same when it came to social norms and traditions. Her private life was full of scandals and unfortunate events. Being bisexual, a communist supporter, what a mix that is, and an atheist in the early 20th century was really pushing boundaries. Her female lover was Mercedes de Acosta, an American poet, playwright, and novelist, and their relationship is documented in many letters they exchanged together. In one of them she writes, "Mercedes, lead me with your little strong hands and I will follow you to the top of the mountain, to the end of the world, wherever you wish." Duncan had 2 children out of wedlock with a wealthy man, a businessman, but she refused to marry him because she valued her freedom too much. And her wealthy lover opened a school for her, where Isadora taught young girls her philosophy of dancing. However, in a tragic accident, Isadora lost her 2 children. It was truly a dark phase in her life. Isadora started traveling the world, desperately trying to find something that would distract her, desperately trying to find something that would bring light and happiness into her heart. And she found it in Russia with the great poet Yesenin. The poet was 18 years younger than her. Their romance was very heated. He was talented, but had a very difficult character. She had seen a lot of money, and he was poor. Sometimes he would steal her clothes to sell them to earn some money. Their romance was crazy. Trying to save it, Isadora took Shein and went to the USA. But in the USA, Isadora, who was very famous, put her lover in her shadow. Shein, who was a well-known and acclaimed poet of the time in all over Soviet Union, couldn't take it. The breakup could not be avoided. 2 years after their separation, Shein was found hanging in his apartment, allegedly having committed a suicide. The circumstances of his death remain a mystery up until today. The end of Isadora's life was also tragic. She died in a bizarre car accident. The New York Times reported at the time, Isadora Duncan, the American dancer, tonight met a tragic death on Riviera. Duncan was hurled in an extraordinary manner from an open automobile in which she was riding and instantly killed by the force of her falling to the stone pavement. As a Soviet citizen at the time of her death, Duncan became the first Soviet citizen to have her will probated in the States. The last femme fatale that I want to tell you about tonight is Mary, the Queen of England. Mary the First. Probably the first thing to pop in your mind when somebody says Bloody Mary is the lavish cocktail made with vodka, tomato juice, and combinations of various spices. However, before the cocktail came to the prominence, it was Mary the First, Queen of England and Ireland, who was the real Bloody Mary. She reigned the British Isles from 1553 until her death in 1558. And despite the short period of time of her reign, she will go down in history, remembered for the persecution of over 280 religious dissenters. Mary was the only surviving child of Henry VIII by his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. When her brother Edward became seriously ill in 1533, he did everything he could possibly do to push Mary out of the line of succession. The reason was their differences on religion. The king partially achieved his aim by stating that their first cousin, Lady Jane Grey, should be proclaimed as queen. However, Mary shamelessly gathered followers and managed to behead Jane, becoming the first queen who ruled England. Throughout her 5-year reign, Mary restored Roman Catholicism in England, following her half-brother's short Protestant-oriented reign. Why was Mary so brutally cruel? What made her become so evil? Was it because of her father, Henry, who would just behead his wives on a regular basis? Was it because of Anne Boleyn, who was the reason for Protestant-oriented reign? However, Bloody Mary had a short life with a tragic ending. She died young, at only 42. She took away so many innocent lives, and her own life was unhappy too, unhappy and short. And Mary's evil revenge and plans were failed. Her half-sister, Elizabeth, by Mary's hated Anne Boleyn, succeeded her as a Protestant monarch, and England remained Protestant. As you can see, these women, only 3 of them I told you about today, they all had vibrant lives. They all left their mark in history. They were femme fatales. But they all had tragic and unhappy endings. One should learn a simple lesson from all of this. Be kind at your heart. Be nice at your heart. Be loving at your heart. And wanting to share with the world all the lovely things that you carry in your heart. And don't let your desire for power, fame, money, even revenge take over you and make you evil. I hope that you all enjoyed this video and that it was interesting for you. I hope that whatever happens in your life, you will not lose the kindness that you carry in your heart. And the most important thing in life is being happy and sharing that happiness with the world. Good night, my sweethearts. Sweet dreams.